Hey guys, welcome to our YouTube channel, Encounters and Tales. We appreciate you, and if you like this video, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel.
The curse of Miss Koi Koi. They say some women are too beautiful to be forgotten, and some deaths are too violent to rest. In the quiet corners of Nigeria's boarding schools, where secrets hide between bunk beds and dormitory walls, her name still echoes, whispered at night, never spoken in full when the lights are out. Miss Koi. She wasn't born a ghost. No spirit is. She was a woman, a flame, and every soul who saw her remembered. Her real name is lost now. No one really remembers whether it was Miss Grace, Miss Elizabeth. No one really knows anymore, but it doesn't matter because everyone who was in that school, St. Catherine's Girls and Boys College, called her Miss Koi Koi. Not out of mockery, out of admiration. She was 26 years old, young and magnetic. The type of woman who made people forget their sentences. Girls in Seoul whispered about her in the toilets, comparing their waistline to hers. Boys in SS3 stole glances at her during morning assembly, pretending to bow their heads in prayer. She was perfection in motion, size 8, and a figure 8 perfectly curved woman. She was always in tight skirts and bodycon dresses that hugged her like second skin. Always wore bottom red stiletto shoes that clicked with purpose across the tiled floors. Koi. That sound was more than a footstep. It was a presence, a reminder, and a signal that beauty had entered the room. Even the teachers, men that were twice her age, adjusted their ties whenever she passed. Heads of department volunteered to walk her to her quarters. The school gate man once swore that she was the only reason why he had not retired. She taught English and literature, and the way she read poetry in class made some of the boys feel emotions they didn't know how to name. She was firm but kind, funny but sharp-tongued. She smiled when she meant it, and even when she didn't. She was admired, desired, and respected, but sometimes admiration can become dangerous. A lot of male students had a crush on her. Some even had wet dreams of her. You know how hormonal teenage boys can get. But there was one that stood out, and his name was Nelson, a senior student in SS2. Aged 17, Nelson was popular, the star of the football team, and son of a powerful chief in the community. He had seen her the way the others did. At first, a vision, a woman who didn't belong in a place filled with chalk dust and hormonal teenagers. But unlike the others, Nelson convinced himself that he deserved her. At first, it was harmless. He would linger after class, smile too long, ask innocent questions. One day, he summoned up courage and decided he would approach her directly. "Miss, I really like you. In fact, I'm in love with you," he said. "You're different. I want you to be mine. I want to marry you." She raised her brow and chuckled lightly, brushing it off like it was a boyish crush. "Nelson, go back to your dorm room. You're not serious." But Nelson became persistent. He started bringing flowers from the school compound, slipping love notes under her door. His father's money made it easier. He even bought a necklace one time, but every time she gave him the same line: "Nelson, go back to your hostel and stop being childish." He wouldn't listen. How could he? She was all he thought about, day after day, the woman of his dreams, and he wanted those dreams to come true. And there was no way he was going to back down now. Then, one day, in broad daylight, everything changed. She was seated at the staff dining section, eating quietly, when Nelson walked in boldly and came up behind her. He reached out and grabbed her, putting arms around her waist, trying to be playful. She pushed him off immediately, her voice rising. "Nelson, have you gone mad? Are you insane? How dare you? You are nothing but a disrespectful child." Hushed whispers filled the room. Teachers looked up. Students stared at the scene. That was when she'd had enough. She marched straight to the principal's office and filed an official report. The next morning, at the assembly ground, the principal addressed the entire school. He called Nelson's name, announced that he had harassed his teacher in an inappropriate way, and was being suspended for the next 2 weeks. Also added a reminder to every student that no one is above the rules, not even the son of a prominent chief. Nelson's reputation shattered. Everyone mocked him. Girls whispered and laughed. Boys avoided him like a curse. He left the school gate that afternoon humiliated. His father was so angry at him and stopped giving him any money or privileges he used to enjoy. His father was a very strict man. During these 2 weeks, the only thing that consumed his mind was how to make her pay. He would get his revenge and humiliate her, just like she humiliated him. Everyone thought suspension had humbled him, that he'd learned his lesson. But Nelson returned colder. He brought something darker with him when he resumed school after the 2-week suspension. He didn't smile, didn't play ball, didn't greet the teachers. His face was carved in stone. The only time he spoke more than one sentence was when he was surrounded by 2 of his friends, Oba and Felix. Boys like him, loyal, wild. The plan didn't need many words. They would wait for her in the bushes and teach her a lesson she would not forget in a hurry. They wanted to make her pay for the disgrace. It was after dinner. Miss Koikoi was walking back from the staff dining section to her quarters. The path led through a side trail, partially lit, flanked by overgrown bushes. The school compound was big, a land that was occupied decades ago by missionaries, so there were pockets of quiet jungle between buildings. They waited there, hiding in the brush, the sound of crickets masking their breath. She came, just as they expected. Her heels clicked softly through the dusted pavement as usual. Koi, Koi, Koi. Then they ambushed her, pushing her into the bush and trying to overpower her. But Miss Koi Koi fought like a wild animal. She kicked, she screamed and scratched. She even bit one of them and elbowed another. She wasn't begging, rather, she was resisting so fiercely, like her life depended on it. Well, because it did. The struggle grew frantic and intense. Felix screamed, "Hold her down." Nelson shouted, "Shut her up." She screamed even louder, with bloodshot eyes, and defiance in her voice. Then Oba saw a stone nearby, a big one, flat, jagged. He picked it up out of desperation or fury. No one knows. And with trembling hands, he struck her with the stone. Once, twice. Her body convulsed, then stilled. The bush fell into a silence so thick, even the insects held their breath. Nelson stood frozen. His heart was beating fast. His eyes locked on her body, stunned. His hands were stained with her blood. Shaking, Oba dropped the stone. It landed on a bed of dry leaves with a hollow thud. Felix backed away slowly, muttering under his breath, "What did you do? What the hell did you do?" Nelson turned to Oba, rage now boiling over the fear. "Who asked you to hit her? You hit her too hard, you bastard." She was screaming, Oba barked back. She was going to bring the whole school out with her voice. "So you decided to kill her," Nelson snapped. "I just wanted to teach her a lesson, not kill her. You did this. Why did you do it?" "We were just supposed to." He couldn't even finish the sentence when his voice cracked halfway. Guilt and pain mixed together. The silence that followed was unbearable. Felix crept closer, knees wobbling. Maybe she's not dead. They knelt beside her and began tapping her face, shaking her arms. Nelson even slapped her lightly. No response. They tried pouring water from Felix's bottle onto her face. Nothing. She was gone. It was already after 9 at night. The school was already quiet. Prep was over. Lights out was less than an hour away. "We need to bury her," Oba said. "Fast. No one can ever find out about this," Nelson added. They ran back to the old gardener's shed behind the dining hall. Inside was a rusted shovel leaning against the wall, barely used anymore. Oba grabbed it, and the three of them darted back through the shadows like haunted animals. They went deeper into the bush this time, past the old mango trees, into the overgrown part of the school compound, where no one ventured anymore. They chose a spot beside a termite-infested log, dug fast, hands blistering, arms trembling. Sweat poured down their backs despite the cold air. Then came the hardest part. They pulled her body through the bush, quickly, frantically, looking sideways to make sure no one saw them. One of her red-bottom stilettos came off during the dragging, and it was lost to the dark bushes. It snagged onto a root or maybe slipped into the undergrowth. None of them noticed. None of them cared. They were too desperate, too frantic, too afraid. By after 10, they lowered her into the shallow grave and covered it. No ceremony, no prayers, just silence and panting breaths. They covered the grave with dirt, even threw dead leaves on top, so no one would notice, and ran. When they reached the hostel, it was exactly 10:40 p.m. It was already lights out, so no one noticed when they slipped into their bunk beds. They didn't speak. They didn't bathe. They just collapsed into their beds, clothes still on, hearts beating fast, sheets damp with sweat. And they slept like cowards. The next morning was strange. The sun rose the same way. Morning assembly was held. The students sang the anthem. But there was one noticeable absence. Miss Coy. At first, the other teachers thought maybe she overslept, or perhaps she wasn't feeling too well. But when she didn't appear for her 9 a.m. literature class, the vice principal walked to the staff quarters to check up on her. He knocked several times, but there was no answer, just silence. He then decided to open the door with a spare key. The bed was neatly made. Her red handbag sat by the dresser. Her powder was still open, lipstick left uncapped. Her ID card was still hanging on the nail beside the mirror, but no one was inside. He reported to the principal immediately. They searched the quarters again, then the staff block, then the library. Nothing. The gate man was questioned. "No, sir," he said, shifting nervously in his stool. "She never left the school premises. I was at this post till midnight yesterday. Nobody left through here." Word was sent to her family and fiancé through a messenger, a young boy from town. When the boy returned, he brought a message from both the fiancé and her family. She never came home. So, she was supposed to be married by the end of the year, and her introduction was already done. The school froze. By the end of the day, every corner had been combed. The bushes, the toilets, the hostels, even the staff septic tank. Nothing. She had simply vanished. Weeks turned to months, and the trail grew colder by the day. No one in town saw her. Her fiancé posted missing person flyers from town to town. Her family even had to consult a native doctor who told them she would be found. The principal issued an official letter placing Miss Koi on indefinite leave. Soon after, the students stopped asking. Some cried, some prayed. Most just whispered. And the 3 boys? They said nothing, ever. But sleep didn't come easily. Every night brought something colder. The air in their rooms felt heavier. Their dreams were filled with strange images. Sometimes they'd hear someone humming outside the window. Other nights, the same scent of Miss Koi's perfume would suddenly waft through the corridor for no reason, until one night it all began. It was a cold Thursday evening, exactly 4 months after Miss Koi vanished. By now, life at St. Catherine's had returned to routine, or at least it pretended to. Nobody had seen her since. There were no updates, no explanations. She had simply disappeared. The sun had set early that evening, casting long shadows through the school's narrow corridors. The dining bell rang at 6:30 p.m. sharp. The menu was simple: rice and beans, as usual on Thursday evenings. Students lined up with their trays. The chatter was low. Everyone ate in silence, still uneasy from her disappearance. Everyone loved and secretly admired her. By 9:30 p.m., students were already brushing their teeth and returning to their dorms. By 10 p.m., the lights were switched off as usual. Lights out, total darkness. And that was when it all started. At first, it was faint, a soft clicking sound echoing in the corridor. Koi, then another, closer. Koi, the sound of heels, red bottom heels. Someone was walking outside the boys' dorm. The room was still. No one said a word. They all heard it. Koi, Koi. Then silence. Whispers spread like fire in the dark. Did you hear that? Isn't that Miss Koi Koi? Tell me I'm not mad. The dorm prefect stood up, trembling. His bare feet padded to the door. He opened it slowly and stepped out with a flashlight. Nothing. The corridor was empty, cold, still. No footsteps, no shadows, no heels, just silence. He returned to the dorm and locked the door, but no one slept that night. Everyone was awake, whispering for the news they may get tomorrow. Maybe she finally came back. One boy said, but Oba, Felix, and Nelson knew the truth. The next morning, the school was buzzing. Everyone was talking about it. Not just the boys, but the girls too. They heard it in their dorms. Even some teachers heard her in their quarters. Same time, same sound. Koi, Koi. Students began murmuring during break time. Was that Miss Koi Koi? Is she back? Maybe she never left. When will she resume teaching? No thought of the word ghost, but Nelson and his friends. They knew she was back from the dead. No one even thought of the possibility that she was dead. But by the next night, they would have no choice. The following night, that Friday night, the air was tense. The school felt colder than usual, like something unseen had entered. Once again, after lights out, it began. A strange wind began to blow, and the windows burst wide open, hitting the window frames with loud bangs. The door lock unlocked. A scratching sound in the walls. It was not raining, but the cold was chilling. Then they heard it. Koi, Koi. This time, even louder. Koi, Koi, Koi. Then a voice creaked through the walls. A woman's voice cracked and crooked, but sounded familiar, echoing through the corridor. I need my shoe. The room exploded. Boys screamed. Some leapt out of bed. One fainted. Girls in Dorm C experienced the same thing. Teachers in their quarters locked themselves in. It continued. Koi, Koi, I need my shoe. It became a nightly ritual. Every night, after lights out, she came, walking, searching, clicking and hissing, calling, I need my shoe. The one shoe that went missing in the bush. The one that got lost when they buried her in that shallow grave. Her spirit had come back to find it, but not just the shoe, to haunt those who killed and buried her. It started with Felix. He began muttering in his sleep, then screaming. He even attacked a teacher with a broom. They said he claimed someone was pulling his feet at night. He was sent home. By the end of the week, he ran completely mad. Official diagnosis, paranoid schizophrenia. But the students knew it was Miss Koi Koi. Then, Oba started vomiting blood. They rushed him to 4 different hospitals. Nothing was found. That is how he started laughing at walls, talking to mirrors. He too ran mad. Then, it was Nelson, the one who started it all. He was found one morning, drenched and covered in mud, sitting under the mango tree, whispering, "She's looking for me. She needs her shoe. Give me her shoe." His parents were called, and he was taken to a psychiatric hospital, but he never recovered. All 3 boys who were once feared were the most popular among the students, became permanent patients of psychiatric institutions. Even after the three culprits lost their minds, she kept coming every night. By 9:30 p.m., the lights would start to flicker. The walls would begin to creak with a scratching sound. Then at exactly 10 p.m., they would hear it. Koi, 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 koi. Sometimes it was outside the dorm. Other nights, the sound can be heard inside. At times, you will feel her at the foot of your bed, even down your neck. Her voice, always soft and broken. I need my shoe. It became a school-wide unspoken rule. At night, no one speaks. At night, no one looks toward the door. At night, everyone pulls their blanket over their head, because if you looked, if you replied, if you even breathed loud enough, she would stop beside your bed and whisper, "Is it with you? Do you have my shoe? Give me back my shoe." Some students would wet themselves. Some even transferred schools. No one dared stay out past 9 p.m. Some days, students would stay together at a bunk bed because of the terror of Miss Koi Koi. The boys later confessed the whole story in their mental state. How they attacked her, how they buried her, how one shoe had gone missing. The school could no longer contain it. Too many stories, too many screams, too many encounters that made people run mad. No one enrolled their children in the school anymore. By the end of the 6th year, St. Catherine's was shut down. Official reason? Structural damage and declining enrollment. But the truth whispered in town was different. They said the school was cursed, that the spirit of Miss Koi Koi still roamed its grounds, crying for her shoe. The school was later converted into a health center. The walls were repainted, beds brought in, doctors stationed. But at night, nurses whispered about footsteps in the corridor. And the patients, they complained about a woman in red heels standing at the end of their beds. And yet, it did not end there. The story of Miss Koi Koi began to spread. Boarding schools across Nigeria whispered her name. Some said she had followed the students who transferred to other schools. Some said, once you heard the sound, Koi, Koi, you never truly forgot it and were forever haunted. It became a warning, a myth, a ghost tale told at midnight in dormitories. Did you hear it? They say she walks at 1 a.m. Some students even brag about the fact that they know people who have personally seen Miss Koi Koi. Some will say, my cousin saw her in her school. Some said she only comes when you're alone. Some said she comes when you laugh at her story. Some even said they had seen her face. And in the next story, we will tell you about one of them. A girl who claimed she saw Miss Koi Koi face to face.